Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another book review video. Let's talk about the 10 books I read in October. I feel like this is probably the most books that I have read in a month this year. I'm pretty dang sure. But first, for those who do not know, I do have a Facebook book club group. If you'd like to join the book club, there will be a link below. During the month of October, we did a fall reading challenge in the book club group. We'll be doing one more. Actually, I was going to do it in December, but I've been kind of changing my mind about that. I have a different idea, just kind of influenced by posts and stuff that I've seen. So I'll be posting about that. Actually, by the time this video is out, that post will already be up. As always, I'm going to give you the Goodreads rating at the time of filming this video and my personal rating. There'll be no spoilers in this review video. I recently joined Book of the Month, and if you're interested in that, I do have a link that'll give you $5 off, or no, $5 for your first book. So far, I'm loving the selections. I did not really love the November selections. Now, full transparency, this is the second time I'm filming this video. I lost the first footage, but 10 books, y'all. I have to share the 10 books that I read with you, so I am redoing it. If I found a book through Prime Reading or Kindle Unlimited, because I do subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, I will let you know. There'll be links to all these services, as well as links to each of the books' Goodreads page and the Amazon page, where you can read reviews or purchase. If you want to be friends on Goodreads, I always have a link down below. You guys know I do read my notes here. I do take notes as I read books throughout the month. So get yourself a drink. We are drinking the Spindrift Sparkling Water and Pineapple. These are unsweetened. I love these. So cheers, grab your drink, because this one will probably be a little bit longer. 10 books. Now, I always do my reviews based on the order of how I read them. I'll give you a description of the book, how I felt about it, and if I recommend it. I did not track how many 5-star reads and all of that stuff that I did this month, so sorry about that, but let's get into the reviews. Books 1 and 2 that I'm going to talk about, I actually did not read them. 1 and 2 is like 1 and 3, but because they are part of a series, I'm just going to put them together. I finished up the Mercy Kilpatrick series from, Kendra Elliott. So these were books 5 and 6, I believe, of that series. It was A Merciful Fate and A Merciful Promise. I love these books. So these were 5-star ratings for me. The Goodreads ratings on these are 4.5. Like I said, these were the last 2 books in that series. You can find the entire series and other series by Kendra Elliott on Kindle Unlimited. Great books. I actually read these on Audible. So if you also have Audible and Kindle Unlimited, any audiobooks on Kindle Unlimited you can listen to on Audible for free. So that's how it picks it up. So since I do have both, and actually you don't even have to have an active Audible account. So like with me, I had deactivated my Audible account, which I have since reactivated because they gave me a great deal. But even if you have the Audible app, if you have Kindle Unlimited and they have audiobooks on there, listen to them on the Audible app, because they are much better, I feel like, than listening them through Kindle Unlimited. I love the narrator they use for the Mercy Kilpatrick series. Super easy to listen to. But I don't want to spoil too much, since these are the last 2 books of the series. But this is a 6-book series about FBI Special Agent Mercy Kilpatrick. She's been waiting her whole life for disaster to strike, because she was raised as a prepper, and it says they're based in Oregon, which I live in Oregon, so I kind of can relate to some of the cities. Now, some of the cities in these books are fictional, but they do mention some of the bigger metropolitan areas. They do we have 2 big cities in this state, so we don't have a lot of big cities here, but they do mention some of the larger cities that I can relate to. They actually, is it in this series or one of other Kendra Elliott series, the Columbia River series, which I am from the Columbia River area, and actually I think in a couple books in this series too, it does cross over, and they do actually talk about the hometown that I'm from, which only has I think at the time I lived there, less than 20,000 people. So Anyway, that's I think another reason why I just love her books, because they are all set, you know, in Oregon, and I love that. But anyway, she's a prepper since childhood, and she grew up living off the land and off the grid. When she was 18, she did leave the family, but there's been some tragedies happening that's tore her family apart, and that's what kind of forced her to leave home. But then she comes back because of things happening in that area, and as a FBI agent, she was brought back to the area to investigate. So that's kind of just different things happening in the 6-book series. Now, you can kind of read the series out of order, which I accidentally did because her books do cross over. So Mercy Kilpatrick showed up in her Columbia River series, and so I was kind of spoiled a little bit through that. And when I got caught up on the Columbia River series, that's when I went back and thought, okay, I need to read all of Mercy's series, because I was a little confused about how things happen. But when these type of series, the authors are so great about kind of filling you in a little bit on the situation, so you don't feel completely lost if you accidentally read it out of order, or when the two different series kind of collide with each other. But I am completely caught up on the Columbia River series. I don't think the next book comes out till later this month or December. I don't know. I keep getting that series mixed up with the Bree Taggart series from Melinda Lee, because I'm really invested in that series too. So anyway, that's when I wanted to go back before the next Columbia River series came out, so I could figure, you know, I knew what Mercy was. But I finally finished the series. I'm glad she's still going to pop up in some of the other series, because I love her character so much. Anyway, highly recommend this series if you have Kindle Unlimited. Pick it up. They're fast-paced. They're not like, you know, the great American novel, but they are definitely just a nice, fun, fast-paced read. I love them. Could not recommend them enough. Book number 3 was The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. My rating 5 stars, Goodreads rating 4.06 stars. This is Frida's newest release. This book is available on Kindle Unlimited. Let's go through the synopsis, and then we will talk about my thoughts. Sydney Shaw, like every single woman in New York, has terrible luck with dating. She's seen it all. Men who lie in their dating profile, men who stick her with the dinner bill, and worst of all, men who can't shut up about their mothers. But finally, she hits the jackpot. Her new boyfriend is utterly perfect. He's charming, handsome, and works as a doctor at a local hospital. Sydney is swept off her feet. Then the brutal murder of a young woman, the latest in a string of deaths across the coast, confounds police. The primary suspect, a mystery man who dates his victims before he kills them. Sydney should feel safe. After all, she is dating the guy of her dreams. But she can't shake her own suspicions that the perfect man may not be as perfect as he seems, because someone is watching her every move, and if she doesn't get to the truth, she'll be the killer's next victim. So, as you guys know, I'm a huge Frida fan. It has been a hot minute since I gave one of her books a 5-star rating. I used all of her older books. When I first discovered her, I was really binge reading all of her books on Kindle Unlimited, and you know, some of the really older ones, 5-star after 5-star after 5 stars. You guys know I hands down love her books. I think I've probably read about 80% of her releases. I feel like there's only like maybe 3 or 4 books, and those are really older ones that I have not read. If you watch my reviews, you also know that I have not been a huge fan of her newest releases until now. I absolutely love this book. I read it in one day on the day it was released. It was actually part of the fall reading challenge of like read a book released in October. And even though going into every Frida book, I always tell myself I'm not going to even try to figure out the twist, because even on the newest releases, that has not been the issue for me. She still have got me with her twists. But I still end up doing so because I think that's our natural reaction, is like we try to figure out what's going on, right? The twist on this one did not disappoint. And I'm not going to say anything more because, as always, you know you just have to go into these books without knowing. Now, is this my number 1 book by her? No. I still would say that Never Lie is probably my favorite book still. Even with all the new releases, probably my favorite book. Now, I heard there's a short story coming out that's going to be part of the Housemaid series. Honestly, I know I say I read all of her books, but I honestly just don't know if I can pick that one up. It's a short story, so maybe I will. But I was probably the least impressed with the book that just came out, the third one of the Housemaid series. I thought it was very, like, not needed. I don't know, maybe unpopular opinion, I just was not a fan, but this one I loved. So if you have stopped reading Frida, because I know a lot of people kind of was just really disappointed in the last couple of her last few. Like, for me, it's the last 3 releases. It wasn't like I was disappointed. I think I still gave them all 4 stars. I just don't think it was up to her usual caliber. Like, her books are so fantastic that I don't know. You guys know, I know that a lot of you agree because we talk about them in the Facebook book club and just people making comments on the videos. But this one is great. Pick it up. I absolutely loved it. Book number 4, I actually do own. I picked this one up on Book Outlet for super cheap. But I'm not going to hold this up the whole time. I will still put up a picture here. But this is Falling by TJ Newman. My rating was 4 stars. The Goodreads rating on this one was a 3.87 stars. So that's pretty in line. Me and Goodreads don't always get along. This novel is by a flight attendant turned author. Let's talk about this book. You just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 other passengers on board. What you don't know is that 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. For his family to live, everyone on your plane must die. The only way the family will survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. Enjoy the flight. So this was actually the debut novel from the author. I do have her second book up here, Drowning, and then I believe her third book came out in August. I can't remember what that one was called. I was quite impressed, actually, when I found out after reading this book that this was her debut novel and that she was a flight attendant turned author. I do feel like that it made me trust what was in that. And actually, as I started reading it, then I started looking up the author a little bit more, and that's when I found that out. But that's what made me kind of trust the technical information that was given in there, especially around the flight attendants. Because, I mean, if she was a flight attendant, then she obviously knows what's going on, right? And so, like I said, I really felt like I trusted the author, which really helped with the technical stuff, because if you're not a flight attendant, not a pilot, all that, you're not going to know if this stuff is actually real, right? But let's break this down in pros and cons, and then I'll give my feelings a little bit more. I love it. It was fast-paced, action-packed. I read it in one sitting. Very short chapters, definitely easy to follow, multiple points of view. This is one of those books that definitely plays out like a movie on paper. And I found out, actually, this is being adapted into a movie. I guess there was like a huge bidding war from different movie studios, whatever you call them. And this author is actually, she's writing the screenplay, which I think is great. I love it when the authors of books write the screenplays for the movies, because then it kind of keeps the substance of the actual book. And this one is going to be produced by Universal Studios. The other thing, I actually did not write a note, but I just kind of thought about it. The other thing that I loved about this book is that in a lot of action type books, they make stupid decisions, even in movies. I am a huge, if you guys did not know, I mentioned this before whenever I've read an action book, I am a huge action movie fan, like Mission Impossible. I love those movies, and it's so funny because my husband likes them, but he's not like me where I can just binge watch them. I just love any action movie like that. And even though they're not realistic, they're not, especially you take James Bond and Mission Impossible, those are not super realistic. However, the movies are for entertainment, and that's what I've always told my husband. He loves Indiana Jones, and he loves the James Bond movies, but he's not as much into it as I am with the action movies. But in this book, there was a lot of opportunity that they could have. I don't want to spoil it, but there was a lot of opportunity where she could have made a predictable situation that, you know what I mean? It really would have made a whole different turn in the book. But the choices that the pilot made and the flight attendants made were not what some people might expect out of a fictional book that they could have taken, that you could do anything with, because it is fiction and for entertainment. That makes sense. If you read this book, you know what I'm talking about. The only con that I would say in this book is that sometimes you do find with these action-packed thrillers, it's more about the plot and the situation. So, of course, this whole book is centered around saving this pilot's family, not, you know, we're going to crash the plane, not crash the plane, about the people, actually the passengers on the plane, the flight attendants, the pilots, you know, so it's more like about the situation. And so typically the characters in action-packed novels don't get fleshed out very well. So there is not a lot of character development. You don't really learn a whole lot about these characters, and that's okay because it is about the action. For me, like, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time. It's not like a romance novel where you really want to get to know the characters and you really want to, you know what they're all about, to know if you want them to be a couple, or, you know what I'm talking about. Like with action books, it's about the action. I mean, yeah, we want to know about the characters, to what makes them think and why they're maybe doing this. And that's about as in-depth as you get with these characters. Is you do learn a little backstory about all the characters, the bad guys, the good guys, you know, the heroes, those kind of things. But it's not like completely fleshed out where you know their whole life story and their family members and all that. It's just you get enough to understand why it's taking place. That's the only con. Honestly, that's the only con. I am looking forward to picking up Drowning, and then also the newest book that just came out in August. Book number 5, Everyone Here Is Lying by Sherry Lapina. My rating 4 stars, the Goodreads rating 3.8 stars. So again, we're lining up. Sherry Lapina is one of my favorite authors. This is the 6th book I had read by her. William Wooler is a family man on the surface, but he's been having an affair that ended horribly this afternoon at a motel up the road. So when he returns to his house, devastated and angry to find his difficult 9-year-old Avery unexpectedly home from school, William loses his temper. Hours later, Avery's family declare her missing. Suddenly, Stanhope doesn't feel so safe, and William isn't the only one on his street who's hiding a lie. As witnesses come forward with information that may or may not be true, Avery's neighbors become increasingly unhinged. Who took Avery Wooler? Nothing will prepare you for the truth. I listened to this one as an audiobook. The narrator was great. This is definitely not my favorite book by the author. I don't even know why she's one of my favorite authors. I think because it is really hit and miss with her books. I think it's because they are like domestic thrillers and neighborhood dramas. And I love me a neighborhood drama. So kind of like Sally Hepworth. I mean, her books, again, are hit and miss with me, but I will read every single one that comes out. I'm actually like 2 releases behind with Sally Hepworth. I need to catch up. But she is one of my favorite authors because, again, it's usually neighborhood drama, domestic thriller, domestic suspense, those kind of things. And I eat that stuff up. You know, it's like you get that little bit of drama. I have lived in the most boring neighborhoods, I feel like, in my adult years, that I am just like, oh, why can't this kind of drama take place on my street, you know? I mean, not that I want any kids to be kidnapped, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's not always about kidnapping. Sometimes it's just like those little like secrets and drama and who, you know, I don't know. Y'all know what I mean. Like I eat those up. And so I think that's why I will continue to read her books, because there have been some 5 stars, definitely. But I just like how she writes that neighborhood drama type stuff. They're just the best. But this was fast-paced, multiple points of view. I can always follow her multiple points of view. That's never an issue. But it was the ending for me. I feel like that has been the case with her last few releases for me. Is like the ending is just so predictable and just so anticlimactic. Like, it's fine if an ending is predictable and you figured it out, if you still get that like punch at the end. And this one was just kind of like, meh, you know, it's just like, oh, that's who did it. Oh, that's so weird. You know, I don't know. It just kind of was a letdown at the end, but all the stuff in between was really great. Like I said, I really liked that. I did not enjoy the character of Avery very well, but maybe I just could not relate to the underlying issues that she had as a child. But I don't know. Like, she was the child, of course, that got kidnapped, but that part was a little strange. But anyway, it just really was the ending for me. It was all good in between, but then it was just such a anticlimactic like last part of the book. Book number 6, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. My rating, 2.5 stars. So definitely the biggest letdown of the month. Goodreads rating 3.4 stars. I have my opinions on why it is so high on Goodreads. We'll talk about that a little bit. This is the first of a series called the Dream Harbor series. I was influenced by TikTok and Instagram and YouTube to read this book, plus it fit into a reading challenge. So let's go ahead and do the synopsis. When Jeannie's aunt gifts her the beloved Pumpkin Spice Cafe in the small town of Dream Harbor, Jeannie jumps at the chance for a fresh start away from her very dull desk job. Logan is a local farmer who avoids Dream Harbor's gossip at all costs, but Jeannie's arrival disrupts Logan's routine and he wants nothing to do with the irritatingly upbeat new girl except that he finds himself drawn to her. Will Jeannie's happy-go-lucky attitude win over the grumpy but gorgeous Logan, or has the city girl found the one person in town who won't fall for her charm or her pumpkin spice lattes? Okay, so I chose this again because it fit a prompt I needed for the fall reading challenge. It was like set in fall cover. I can't remember exactly what it was, but fit that perfectly. Again, I saw this all over TikTok and I feel like they did me dirty with the reviews because everybody said, you'll love this book if you love Gilmore Girls. You'll love this book if you love fall. You'll love this book if you love the grumpy sunshine, type character. And I listen to a lot of reviews on Book Talk and Instagram. I don't watch so much on YouTube because they're, a little bit longer, and I have very little time to watch YouTube anymore. It's like just when I'm getting ready for work, so I do watch a lot of book review videos. That's pretty much all I watch when I'm getting ready for work in the morning. But so I like the little short clips on those other platforms. And I feel like they did not prepare me. So, pros, again, it did have the Gilmore Girls small town vibe. So if you watch Gilmore Girls, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you a little bit more first. This may be a book for you. But it definitely does have that Gilmore Girl small town vibes. Definitely. All the characters, the way the town's described, 100%. 100% fall feelings. Gives you the fall feelings, gives you the fall vibes. The first 75% of this book was Gilmore Girls and fall. It was beautifully atmospheric in that sense. Okay, the cons, everything else. Zero character development though. As much as I say like Gilmore Girl vibes, maybe that was really pretty much it. You have those characters, but there is no development of these characters. And again, this is completely different than the one I talked about earlier with the action. This one, I felt like should have a little bit more character development. In my opinion, did not have any. I also wasn't a huge fan of the writing style. I had so much, I feel like this book I should have flew through, but I didn't. Because I had trouble like connecting with the writing. And maybe I'm the only one that thought this when I picked this up, and I thought this was just a fall cozy romance. Y'all know, like, I love clean romances. What do they call them? Clean. I can't remember. There's another word for like the type of romance books that I like. I like rom-coms, So maybe I'm the only one that thought this. Again, I did not recall. Maybe I just did not watch the right reviews on this book. Because, nope, this is not just a fall cozy romance. It went from cozy romance for 75% of the book to literally turn the page. And then it turns into a spicy romance. And not just a little, it was spicy. Now, if I know a book, like you guys know I read Butcher and Blackbird, I knew going in what that book was going to be. And I pick up very, 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 very few of those. I think that's the only book I've read this year that is any kind of spice in it. But I had to read that book. This one, again, I thought I was going into this fall cozy, we have this grumpy guy. We have this super, sweet city girl who's living in a small town, and they're going to collide, and it's just going to be sweet and, and all that. That's the kind of stuff I eat up. Like I said, I turned the page. It just felt weird. So like I said, if I knew that going into it, I could have prepared myself, and I may have still read it. I don't know. But the fact that it was 75%, I have accidentally picked up books. Like, y'all didn't tell me about Tessa Bailey when I had said I was going to read a book. No, I didn't know. I picked up one of her books last year and I was like, oh my goodness. And that was pretty much the whole book, right? I finished it, never picked one up since. It's just not for me. I feel like it should either be throughout the whole book or not where, because I do feel, here's also my opinion on this. It just felt really weird and oddly placed, honestly. It just really did. But as you know, I mean, I said, I just didn't like the character development, didn't like the writing style. So a lot more than just the spice is why I'm giving this 2.5 stars. I just really felt like the book was not fleshed out very well. It didn't really go as much into the grumpiness and the, this great girl, type, the grumpy sunshine light trope. I didn't feel like it was fleshed out as much. But also, I feel like the cover of this book, which you'll see as we're talking here, and the fact that it is all over TikTok and Instagram, I feel like I'm afraid of, and maybe, I don't know, I don't have girls, you guys know, but I was a girl. But I feel like a teenage girl may pick up this book, and I'm talking maybe even tween, like 11, 12, 13-year-old, because they see all this. Isn't that about the age when girls are like starting to get into the pumpkin spice stuff and all that? And they're going to pick up this book and it's going to be like, wow. And maybe that's how they are now. I don't know. I don't know what age are reading these spicy books. Maybe they are. But I wouldn't want my 12-year-old daughter to pick up this book and read it. I don't know. It just felt very odd to me. And I was just really disappointed because I do feel like it was not. You read the synopsis. I just read it to you. Did I miss something in there? I don't know. Let me know if you've read this book. Number 7, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. My rating, 3 stars. I know y'all are probably yelling at me right now. Goodreads rating, 3.88. Okay, lots and lots of thoughts on this book. But first, let's talk about the synopsis if you've never heard of this book series. In a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet up once a week to investigate unsolved murders. But when a brutal killing takes place on their very doorstep, the Thursday Murder Club find themselves in the middle of their first live case. Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim, and Ron might be pushing 80, but they still have a few tricks up their sleeves. Can our unorthodox but brilliant gang catch the killer before it's too late? Okay, so first up, I did pick this again for my book club. I first tried reading this one. I had got it through my Libby app, through my library. I first tried reading this one, but I could not get into it. So I thought, okay, I had a credit for Audible, so I went and I used my one credit I had, and I purchased this book. I still struggled. I definitely listened to it a lot better than reading it. Like, I feel like if I wouldn't have got the Audible, I would not have made it all the way through. Because reading, it's just so much easier just to put down the book. But with Audible, I just had it playing while I was working, had it playing anywhere I drove anywhere, had it playing when I was cleaning house, that kind of thing. Okay. I don't know, should I, let's just, do I start with what I didn't like so I can end in a positive note? Okay, we're going to do that. No, I do, let's just talk about what I did not like about it. It was, for me, again, I know people love this book. I know people, even in my book club, have mentioned they read this book and loved it. I see people all over loving this book. So I really do think this is an unpopular opinion. I felt like it was super slow in the beginning. Really, really slow. I would say I was about 30% through the audiobook when I almost DNF'd it, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to push on. It's audiobook. I can just listen to it while I'm doing other things. And it did start to get interesting after about the 30% mark. There are way too many characters, way many points of view. And you guys know I read a lot. I normally have no issue, even in books that points of view are not written very well or not very clear. I still can follow them, but this one was just so hard for me. And I honestly think most of it though was because I was just so bored with the characters that I couldn't be bothered to retain the information about the character. So when it would go to another point of view and it would say like Elizabeth, or it would say Joyce, or whatever, and I think there's a Donna, and when they would mention these names, I had to keep, who was that again? Okay, were they the police officer, and they call them constables because it's a different country. And I mean, so I just had to, I'd spend so much time because I just could not, connect with these characters. And so the points of view are just so hard for me to follow. And I did feel like there was entire chapters that were unnecessary and did not add to the story. And I think that's another thing too. So I'd listen to this whole chapter, and then we go to the next one. I'm like, wait a second, how does that connect to this next one? And then I'd wait for it to connect at some point and realize it didn't. And here I was retaining all the stuff from this chapter that I think was just kind of informational to kind of talk about the characters more. So speaking of characters, really what I liked is the characters were interesting and funny, and I do think that the audiobook really added to that. Like, I was interested in the characters, but I didn't connect with them to care that much about them, but I do think that they were interesting and funny, and I don't know if I should, sometimes in a series, like this is a series of like, is it like 3 or 4 or 5 books? I don't even know if they may still be making more. Let me know sometimes the first series of a book is not the best one. Maybe, and I do feel like the writing was okay in this book. Like, I don't think it's the author. I think maybe it's just the type of characters. And you guys know I like cozy mysteries, and that's kind of what this was. I don't know. Should I push on? Should I try book number 2? Should I at least, give it another shot? I don't know. Because I do know a lot of people enjoy this book. So I really don't think you should take my opinion necessarily. Don't let this dissuade you from reading this. Maybe don't buy it, but maybe see if you can borrow it from your library or something. I don't know. I personally, at this point, unless you guys tell me differently, I don't plan on continuing on with the series. Now, switching gears, book number 8, Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. My rating, 5 stars. Goodreads rating 4.07 stars. This is my 5th Riley Sager book and one of my favorites so far. Let's talk about this book. Maggie Holt is used to such questions. 25 years ago, she and her parents, Ewan and Jess, moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. They spent 3 weeks there before fleeing in the dead of night, an ordeal Ewan later recounted in a nonfiction book called House of Horrors. His tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent, something like that, spirits became a worldwide phenomenon, rivaling the Amityville horror in popularity and skepticism. Oh my gosh, why is it using words that I can't say today? Today, Maggie is a restorer of old homes and too young to remember any of the events mentioned in her father's book. But she also doesn't believe a word of it. Ghosts, after all, don't exist. When Maggie inherits Bainbury Hall after her father's death, she returns to renovate the place to prepare it for sale. But her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the past, chronicled in House of Horrors, lurk in the shadows, and locals aren't thrilled that their small town has been made infamous thanks to Maggie's father. Even before unnerving is Bainbury Hall itself, a place filled with relics from another era that hint at a history of dark deeds. As Maggie experiences strange concurrences straight out of her father's book, she starts to believe that what he wrote was more fact than fiction. Oh my goodness, are Riley Sager's synopsises always that long? I don't know. I don't honestly read the synopsis most of the time when I pick up his books because you guys know he's one of my favorite authors, and so I just pick them up. I don't even care what they're about. But I've been told by multiple people that this is one of their favorite Riley Sager books, and that why have I not read it yet? You need to read this book. Read this book. And so it did fit into the book challenge this month, so I read it, y'all, and you guys, you're right. I definitely should have picked this up much, much sooner, but I'm glad. I enjoyed every single bit of it. I honestly don't have anything bad to say about this book. I just love his writing so much. So atmospheric. You can honestly hear and feel everything he writes in every book that he writes. The pacing was perfect. There was no slow movements. I didn't have to skim any parts. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just have to skim parts in a book. The twists and turns were done so well. I didn't find any of them predictable. Especially kind of the reveal. I was so surprised. I highly recommend this one, y'all. You have to pick this one up. I don't think you'll be disappointed. If you're a Riley Sager fan, you have not read this book, you need to read it. Pick it up now. We need a drink break. If y'all have not tried the Pineapple Spindrift, you need to try it. It's so good. Book number 9, The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. My rating 4 stars, Goodreads rating 3.96. Hey y'all, we're lined it up pretty good this month. My first book, this is my first book by this author. It fit into my reading challenge. This can be found on Kindle Unlimited at the time of this book. I don't know how often Kindle Unlimited books go in and out, but at the time of me filming this and this book review is posted, it is on Kindle Unlimited. Here's what it's about. She's got his back. He's got her heart. They've got a secret. What could possibly go wrong? Hannah Brooks looks more like a kindergarten teacher than somebody who could kill you with her bare hands. But the truth is, she's an elite bodyguard and she's just been hired to protect a superstar actor from his stalker. Jack Stapleton's a Hollywood heartthrob captured by paparazzi on beaches the world over. On beaches the world over. Does that even make sense? I don't know. Rising out of the waves in clingy board shorts and glistening like a Roman deity. When Jack's mom gets sick, he comes home to the family's Texas ranch to help out. Only one catch. He doesn't want his family to know about his stalker or the bodyguard thing. And so Hannah, against her will and her better judgment, finds herself pretending to be Jack's girlfriend as a cover. Protecting Jack should be easy, but protecting her own heart, that's the hardest thing she's ever done. So again, I chose this book because it fit the reading challenge prompt set in fall. This is the first book, again, that I've read from this author. I do own one other book. Which one? Here we go. We have Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. Also, I have the Rom-Commers I had bought on like a Kindle sale or Apple book sale a while back for like $2.99. So I do have that book too. So I'm glad I love this book so much because I'm sure I'll eat those other two up. This was such a bingeable read. I'm really not going to talk much about this book because you get a lot in the synopsis and it is just really such a cute read. It's funny banter, well written, fast paced, and the perfect length of a book. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's a great book and I look forward to reading more books by this author. I think that it's just a good time and I love the family stuff part of it, and I think that you guys would really like it too. Let me know if you've read other books by this author and if you think I'm going to enjoy them. Number 10, When in Rome by Sarah Adams. My rating 4 stars, although I have been still thinking about this book because this was the last book that I've read. I actually am filming this for the second time on November 9th. And I think because I've read so much last month for this reading challenge, I tend to binge when I'm doing these reading challenges, and I get a little burned out. And so I do it takes me a little bit longer to kind of get into reading again. And so this was the last book that I read. I'm currently listening to one audiobook and reading a book right now. And just not very far into them, but I'm still been thinking about this book. And so I kind of think it's more like 4.5 stars because when I find myself thinking about a book, even after I've finished it, I think that's a sign, right? A sign that it's a book that, is really good. I mean, I'm thinking about it in a positive way, not in a negative way. So 4 stars, 4.5 stars. Goodreads rating is 3.9 stars. Let's talk about it. Amelia Rose, known as Ray Rose to her adoring fans, is burned out from years of maintaining her Princess of Pop image. Inspired by her favorite Audrey Hepburn film, Roman Holiday, she drives off in the middle of the night for a break in Rome, Kentucky, that is. When Noah Walker finds Amelia on his front lawn in her broken down car, he makes it clear he doesn't have time or patience for celebrity problems. He's too busy running the pie shop his grandma left him and reminding his nosy but lovable neighbors to mind their own damn business. Despite his better judgment, he lets her stay in his guest room, but only until her car is fixed. Then she's on her own. Then Noah starts to see a different side of Ray Rose. She's Amelia. Kind-hearted and goofy, yet lonely from years in the public eye. He can't help but get close to her. Soon she'll have to return to her glamorous life on tour, but until then, Noah will show Amelia all the charming small-town experiences she's been missing, and she'll help him open his heart to more. Amelia can't resist falling for the cozy town and her grumpy tour guide, but even Audrey had to leave Rome eventually. So this is another first-time author for me, although I feel like Sarah Adams may have wrote one of the short stories. You remember earlier this year when Kindle Unlimited did a romance series, and I did not enjoy a lot of them, if you remember right. Wasn't Sarah Adams one of those? I can't remember if it was Sarah Adams or not, and I feel like I didn't enjoy it. But I do find myself not enjoying novellas very much. Maybe just because I feel like you don't get a whole lot. But I chose this again for the reading challenge. This one was, I think the reading challenge prompt was Sweet Like Candy, something like that, because it was in October, so Halloween. I think it was called Sweet Like Candy, which really that's what this type of romance was. But that's one of the reasons why I love doing reading challenges, because when I do them, I try to pick up authors that I've never read before. I think it's really easy in reading challenges to just do your tried and true favorites, you know. And I did discover so many new authors in this reading challenge, and maybe one's not so great and one's really good that I know that I want to continue picking up. The only reason why, okay, so here's my thoughts. Now, I forgot this. The reason why I did not give this 5 stars is I did find it to be a little bit slow paced for such a short book, and that is true. This book was around 290-ish pages. It was less than 300 pages, and it did take me longer to read than other books of the same size. Also, I would have liked to see the relationship between the two main characters play out a bit more before it ended. So that is true why I kind of didn't give it 5 stars. Although I still think it warrants a 4.5 stars just because I have still been thinking about it and thinking about these characters. That is true. It was a little bit of a slower paced read for me. But I always wonder sometimes, is that just me? Like, is it just me that it was slower paced because maybe I just wasn't, you know, it's just, you know, how sometimes you just don't get into reading. And this was the last book of the challenge. And now that I'm kind of in a little bit of a reading slump right now. Maybe it was the start of my reading slump because I'd read so many books already. Could have been that. However, overall, this was a fantastic book. It was heartwarming. It was cute. It was funny. Had all the rom-com vibes. And this is going to be at least a 3-book series. And I say at least because there is, because this one right here centers around Noah. So there's Noah and 2 sisters. The other 2 are centered around his sisters. And the second book is already out. And the 3rd will be published next year. So I can't imagine there'll be any more than 3 books since there's just the 3 of them. And I'm definitely going to pick up the second book here soon. I'm going to see if I can fit it into my next challenge. Only because I want to know, like, in that second book, then are we going to get more of Noah and Amelia, or is it just only going to be... But I love it when books connect different... You know, when it's like a series that's about the different characters in the series. You know what I mean? So we were introduced in this book to Noah and his 2 sisters. I believe it's Emily and Madison, if I remember right. And but there's, isn't there Annie, Emily, and Madison? He has like 3 sisters. So maybe there's going to be 4 books. I'm pretty sure he had 3 sisters in this book. Am I remembering that wrong? I don't know. Y'all know I have a bad memory. I'm pretty sure I am thinking to myself there was like Annie, Emily, and Madison. So maybe there'll be 4 books because I would think it'd be fair to make a book about every one of the sisters, right? Anyway, they gave a lot of detail about the sisters and just kind of their personalities, and they all had such distinct personalities in this book. And I think it's great because you kind of introduced to them. So it's kind of like, reminds me of like how Abby Jimenez does that in her books, where she has a series. She picks a character from one or the other and just kind of, you know, continues on. And, you know, she's she is probably my number 1, like, rom-com romance author. Christina Lauren's right there too. But I would say I still like Abby Jimenez a lot better. But anyway, I think I love that. And so I definitely am going to finish this series, and I'm going to look and see what else Sarah Adams has out there. I know she has a ton of books. Let me know. Does she write series? Is that like normal for her? Are there any other books that I should read by her? Let me know. There you go, guys. Those are the 10 books that I read and listened to this month, in the month of October. Great reading month. Hopefully, I think November is going to be a little bit more difficult, and I actually, because of the challenge that I'm going to do, which, okay, I'll give a little spoiler. I know you guys are all wondering. So kind of the challenge that I want to do is kind of like, I've been seeing this all over TikTok and Instagram, and it's 10 before the end. So it's like choosing your 10 books you want to read before the end of the year, which I know that, 10 for some people is not very many. And obviously I read 10 in this month, but we have Thanksgiving. And if you're like me, I host Thanksgiving. So we have Thanksgiving. which is usually kind of busy. People start getting ready for Christmas, people decorating for Christmas, then we have Christmas, we have New Year's, and all, things leading up to New Year's, right? A lot of stuff going on for a lot of people in November and December. So 10 books is actually a good amount. So it's like 5 each month, right? So that is going to be the challenge. I'm going to do 10 before the end and just pick 10 books that I want to try to read before the end of the year. Now, spoiler alert, I am already, this would be a good challenge for people who want to finish out their Goodreads or whatever they use, whatever platform they use, and their goals, so how many books they want to read for the year. I think I'm at already 75 books out of my 50, so I'm already way over. So anyway, that's what it's going to be, 10 before the end. So I'm going to spend some time over these next few days to choose 10 books besides the 2 that I'm reading right now. I'm not going to count those as part of the 10 because I want to get those finished this week. And then I'm going to try to pick my 10 that I want to shape the rest of my year with. And I'm going to do some holiday books in there. So I think for the next book review video, it's just going to be in December when you guys know I try to do Vlogmas. I think I'm going to try to do that again where I vlog every day in December. So I almost always do 2 different book type videos in December where I just do my regular what I read in December. But I think I'll just do the November, December combined and do my 10 books that I read that I chose for 10 books to the end books, and do that in one video. Then I always do a wrap up for the year, how many books I've read, and I pick out my 5-star reads. I do a few different books. So usually there's at least 2 to 3 book videos in December that of just different things. So lots to come in December. So I think that's what I'll do. So there probably will not be one in November. We'll just do it in December instead. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me and sticking in here for however long this video ends up being. I'm always shocked when I go to edit my video and I see, because I have no way of knowing because I do these in little clips for each book, so it's easy for me to edit. So I'll be very curious to see how long this video ends up being. But anyway, I'm rambling now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.